This will be the most important video you watch all day because I'm going to go over 7 of the absolute best league winners in fantasy football compared to their ADP right now. So save this video, like it, subscribe, do whatever you have to do to get these videos in your timeline because we're going into it. We're getting the edge in fantasy football like we are going to do all season long. But I hate wasting people's time. The first guy on this list that is a true league winner is Courtland Sutton. And I know before I even started doing the research on this, I just was not into it. I didn't like him last season. It felt weird. But there is actually a case to be made. Last season with Russell Wilson as the quarterback, not the best option. He finished as the wide receiver 35. And now we're drafting him as the wide receiver 44 this year, lower than he finished last year. And that doesn't really make much sense. The situation is actually better, believe it or not. I know Bo Nix might not be the best quarterback, but Russell Wilson's season, I think Russell Wilson's a fine quarterback, but his season with the Broncos, the numbers can't get much worse. And now he has no target competition. Jerry Jeudy's on the Browns. His only competition is Josh Reynolds and Marvin Mims. If you know who those guys are, you must already know fantasy football pretty well. But the vast majority of people don't really understand who they are because they're not good. They're just role players. They are what they are. They're not going to be target comp for him. He still managed to average 13 fantasy points a game. He's going into his year 29 season. Not 29 years in the NFL, but he's 29 years old. Statistically, he's not out of his wide receiver prime yet. Possibly a better quarterback situation, and we're drafting him as a wide receiver 5 in the 9th round. It doesn't really make much sense to me. He's a potential wide receiver 1 for this team. Even if they're not great, he's better than a 9th round pick. This is one of those cases where it's literally going to be hard for him not to meet his ADP. And he's a pretty good touchdown merchant. We learned that last year. But keeping it on the wide receivers, the guy that was catching fire last year and will continue to do good is Jayden Reed. And let me give you some of the analytics behind it. Statistically, it is a really good idea to take the chance on second-year wide receivers because they have their breakout and make the biggest jump in that second year. And that's exactly what Jayden Reed is going into. But we have that and then some because he came out last season way better than anybody expected. He was undrafted in 99% of leagues unless you accidentally auto-drafted him. He averaged 13.5 fantasy points on the entire year, which included him getting ready and getting more production as the season went on. He started out slow. That's how rookies do. Him and Jordan Love both were a lot better than me personally and a lot of other people expected them to be. And the Packers offense, from what we learned last year, is one that you kind of want to buy into. Now, if you're getting Jayden Reed in your drafts, you're hoping that the guys like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave even aren't catching up to him because there are a lot of decent target getters in this offense. Now they replaced Aaron Jones with Josh Jacobs. You can make your own case for if that's a better situation or not. He's going to get some work out of the backfield. I don't really think it hurts him because Josh Jacobs is essentially the same kind of guy as Aaron Jones was. They use their running game. There's just a lot of guys in this offense to get targets, but you're getting a potential wide receiver 1. Yes, there is a Christian Watson and a Romeo Doubs in this offense, but I love finishing drafts. If I get Jordan Love, I'm going for one of these Packers wide receivers, and he's going as the wide receiver 35 in the 6th round. So again, not much draft capital to tie next to him to make it a bad pick. It's going to be a little tougher for him to reach his ADP than a guy like Courtland Sutton or McConkey, if you guys want to get into that. Moving into a true sleeper, which is what you guys are here for, is McConkey. If you don't know who he is, you should know. He very well could be the wide receiver 1 for the entirety of the season for the Chargers. They just drafted him in the NFL draft this year, and he's playing in the slot. If you guys know anything about slot wide receivers, it's that they get peppered with targets. They get a good amount of targets compared to your outside guys that are deep threats. So this guy's going as the wide receiver 45 on the year in the 9th round. Again, a potential wide receiver 1. And let me explain why his ADP should be a lot higher. I understand that it's low because he is a rookie, and a lot of times it's pretty tough to evaluate rookies that aren't top talents like Marvin Harrison because the NFL is a big jump. But he's on an offense with Quentin Johnston as the other wide receiver option, Josh Palmer, and DJ Chark. That's all. That is all the target competition he has. And we saw how some of that worked out last season. It's not going to be great. He is so easily able to walk into that cakewalk of a wide receiver 1 spot. And that's a pretty valuable position when you have a guy like Justin Herbert throwing you the ball. He's still an amazing quarterback. Yes, he was dealing with a bunch of injuries. The team has kind of gutted itself, but still, he has to throw the ball somewhere, quite literally. They replaced Austin Eckler with Gus Edwards. He's not going to take as much of the receiving role as Austin Eckler did. He was an insane target merchant. And again, he's one of these guys that it is almost impossible for him not to reach ADP. I expect it to jump maybe a round, maybe even 2 as the season gets closer. Put him in your list though. Make sure you got him on that fantasy football notes. But I'm taking the chance on him, and hopefully he doesn't jump up too much by the time the actual draft comes around. But maybe you don't like him. Maybe you are not a believer in the Chargers offense or Justin Herbert or maybe the offensive line. That's all valid options. There's also a guy named Keon Coleman who is another similar player, but maybe in a better situation. He's going as the wide receiver 46. The Bills just drafted him. You get Josh Allen as the quarterback. That's always a good thing. On top of a passing offense that again got gutted and they don't really have anybody left. They have Gabe Davis. He left. Stephon Diggs. He ADP left, and they replaced them with guys that are a little bit worse. They got Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. So pretty much what I'm saying is the biggest target competition he has is Dalton Kincaid, which again, I do think is a decent option. You'll probably see him in a future video. But Keon Coleman was the 33rd pick in the NFL draft, a pretty high draft capital, which means he's going to be used. And if you guys have seen any of the information from the team, from camp, from anything regarding this season coming up, they want him to be that wide receiver one the second he steps on the field. Now, obviously, teams are going to say this with the rookies they draft pretty high, but they kind of need it. He doesn't really have a choice. So he's going in the 9th round. That ADP is pretty low for fantasy football. And again, another potential wide receiver one. Do I think he will instantly jump into that wide receiver one role for the Bills? No, it'll take a couple weeks. Their bye week is in week 12, which is pretty late. And the reason I am bringing this up, if you guys haven't watched any of these videos last season before, a lot of the times, pretty much most of the time, after the team's bye week, they get their rookies more involved and kind of make that step up for them to be that guy. And week 12 is pretty late for that, but that doesn't mean he can't be the wide receiver one now. He's not the fastest guy. He ran a 4.63, 4.6 something. His college numbers didn't jump off the page when I was looking at them. But again, situation's great. You got Josh Allen. The passes have to go somewhere. It's a pass-heavy offense. But a 9th round pick is essentially just pennies that you're tossing into the well. It's nothing. You can take a 9th round pick on him. I'm sure as the season gets closer, that will move. But put it in your notes for now. But a tight end we need to get. I'm absolutely loving tight ends this year. Just analyzing them and looking at the values that we have. It's looking really, really great. So make sure to like this video, subscribe for the future videos. If you guys want a full list on my tight end draft strategy and all the picks I'm loving, I can make a full video on that. Just let me know in the comments. I respond to all the comments anyways. But Jake Ferguson is a guy I am liking. He's going as the tight end 10. That puts him in the 8th round of fantasy football drafts. That is way, way, way too low. And if you look at the difference between the tight end 1, tight end 2 to the tight end 10 or tight end 12, it's only a couple fantasy points difference. It's really close. So a little sneak peek into that potential video you guys may or may not want. The tight end position really spans all the way throughout the draft. So making sure you get the right tight end is really what sets you apart in your draft. Again, guys like Sam Laporta last season, Dalton Kincaid, they stole a lot of the rookie tight end hype, the tight end, young tight end hype. Then Jake Ferguson kind of just floated in the wind. Nobody really heard much about him. Yeah, he was good. Finished as a top 10 tight end, which is very good for young tight ends. Yes, he wasn't a rookie, but his second year going into his 3rd, there's a lot of room for upside. And there's nowhere but up to go from here. After Dalton Schultz left the team, he went from the tight end 48 to the tight end 9 last year and had 100 more targets. His numbers, everything might not jump off the page to you. He was, I guess, an average tight end for fantasy football, but he did great for the opportunities that he did have because he wasn't the tight end 1. He wasn't getting 100% of the snaps on the team, but he still led all tight ends in targets inside the 20 and the 5-yard line. If you guys watched any of those Cowboys games last year, you know he was a touchdown merchant. Any CeeDee Lamb owners or maybe even Brandon Cooks was cringing every time they got to the red zone because he would get every single target. Even though he only finished with 5 touchdowns on the year, it very easily could have been 9, almost even 10 because he was getting targeted every time. It just was unlucky with the touchdown number. He's clearly the second option for the Cowboys behind CeeDee Lamb. Dak likes to target his tight ends. He always has been, and there really isn't much target competition, again, with Brandon Cooks, and you don't have to pay a huge premium to get him. Again, his ADP is pretty low, and they don't really have the best run game either. They did re-sign Ezekiel Elliott, but he's 29 years old. He's really not that efficient anymore. He's not the young Zeke that we loved that was absolutely dominating, so when you don't have a great run game, you're going to need to pass a little bit more, and it's already a pass-heavy offense. It's just looking very good, and his ADP is really low. Let's say you don't like Jake Ferguson. Maybe you're a Commanders fan like me. You just can't stomach taking a Cowboys player. Another tight end I'm really, really loving. He is a little bit higher in price, but it's absolutely worth it, is Evan Engram. This guy will be great. I don't understand what is going on this year with his numbers for fantasy football. Let me dive into that. So let me go ahead and paint this picture. He finished as the tight end 2 last season. He had the most targets in the entire NFL as far as the tight end position goes. He graded out as one of the fastest tight ends. Very athletic, very good. So he's going to be going in the first couple rounds at least the tight end 5 at the very lowest, right? Well, no, this man is going as the tight end 7 in round 6, pretty much. Like, what are we doing? And the Jaguars just let go of Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones, 2 of the biggest target getters and consumers in this offense outside of Christian Kirk, and he's still getting drafted outside the top 5 tight ends. And yes, I know they replaced those receivers with Gabe Davis and with Brian Thomas. Is that really an upgrade? I don't think so. And you have to expect that Trevor Lawrence is going to favor the 6'4" tight end that he's been playing with for a couple years now, and he's the most experienced target receiver on the team. It's going to be really tough for him not to meet his ADP, even though it's so high. I just don't understand why he's going low. That has to move as the season gets closer. If it doesn't, I'm glad you guys are watching this video. But a quarterback I am loving, I got to get you guys every single position in this video, is Kyler Murray. Again, I don't understand why he's going as the quarterback 10 around guys like Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Dak. Maybe the comparison to players does make sense, but he's picked 70 in fantasy football drafts. That puts him in the 6th round. That is a sweet spot for a quarterback with rushing upside like that. And you are running the risk by taking Kyler Murray of maybe he's going to get injured again. You really can't predict that though. If you are worried about it, get a quarterback in the 12th, 13th round just for a backup, or stream off the waivers. It's really not that big of an L when you're taking him in the 6th round. Now he's got some of the best weapons that he's had since DeAndre Hopkins. He has a new Marvin Harrison, who knows how good he's going to be, is probably at least very good. And then he has Zay Jones that they just signed and brought in. They have Michael Wilson, a good stretching wide receiver. They have James Conner. They got Trey McBride, who turned into a really good receiving option last season at the tight end position. And kind of just like to back check the stats here, Marvin Harrison is going as a top 10 wide receiver in this year's draft, so it's kind of a given that this offense is going to be good. He's going to get targets. Kyler Murray's going to feed him, and their offense is going to be pretty good. But I think the reason he's going so low, again, is because of the injury risk. He averaged 19 fantasy points a game when he was healthy, but he finished last season as the quarterback 26. So with his weapons, with his rushing upside, if he somehow manages to stay healthy for the entire season, do not doubt that he's finishing as a top 7, top 5 even quarterback on the year, and you're getting him in round 6. A lot of options, a lot of great receiving weapons. Why not take it? I know we look at him and just get a bad taste in our mouth, pause, but he is only 26 years old. He's still very much in his quarterback prime, very much in his athletic prime. It's not like we're taking an old Ben Roethlisberger that's just not mobile or not good. He's been through too many injuries. He's still young. He's still good. I don't know why we have this bad narrative around Kyler Murray. Yes, he gets injured sometimes, but if it doesn't, he's a top 5 quarterback. But that is going to finish off this video. I very, very much appreciate you guys watching all the way through. I'll see you guys in the next video coming soon. I got a whole bunch planned and ready to go, edited for this channel. I love you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's win some more fantasy chips.